On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline from The Athletic, he is our friend Bob Kravitz. I don't know if you saw this or not. I know you're a huge fan that Elvis Costello is coming back to Carmel in November. Did you happen to see?
I did not see that. He's coming to what, the Palladium?
The Palladium in November, I believe, is when I saw. Yeah.
I will be there. I saw him the last time he came through, and he put on a hell of a show.
Yeah, it's good. It's good that he keeps going, too, because I don't think that dude gets enough credit for being entertaining.
Yeah, he's a brilliant singer-songwriter, absolutely. I'll definitely be there.
Speaking of brilliance, the level of brilliance in selecting Goga 18 on Thursday. Let's start right there with this Pacer team. What'd you think about it?
I was confused by it, honestly. Look, I love European players, generally speaking, because of the way they learn the game at a very young age. They don't do the whole AAU thing. They really learn skill development and all that stuff. But the last time I checked the roster, they already have two bigs. So I'm trying to figure out how they're going to play all these guys and who's going to be your four. I mean, the idea of Domas as a four makes me shiver. I don't think Miles is a four in any way, shape, or form. So what I think is going to happen, John, and this may come under the heading of cold exposed, but I think with Domas in line for a pretty good payday after next year, I think if the top really develops, I think that Domas is going to be on the trading block because this team has so many openings, so many holes that they need to fill. But they need to fill it now, and it's a good thing they've got some money in free agency. But we'll see how far that goes.
So Bob Kravitz of The Athletic. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Kevin Pritchard told me Friday, I asked him straight that will both Domas and Miles be on the roster at the start of the season, and he said yes. Do you agree with that? Do you believe that?
Yeah, I do believe it, although it's funny. I asked him exactly the same question. Can you say with certainty that all three guys will be on the roster when the season starts? And he kind of hemmed and hawed a little bit and said, well, you can never be certain. So I think maybe he strengthened his view on that. I do think that they will all be here, but I think, let's wait till the trade deadline next year. I think the Pacers are going to struggle a little bit. It's going to be a new team, and it's going to be a team without Victor Oladipo. But it would not shock me in the least if Domas Sabonis was moved at the trade deadline.
Well, and I mean, you look at it this way too. They sell it, don't they? I mean, the rest of the NBA is going, smaller and small ball and trying to travel that path. And, Nate said this back in May, and then, Kevin said it last week that their belief is that it's going to a bigger guy, now, albeit a versatile guy, but a bigger guy nonetheless. Do you buy that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the way the league has gone in one direction and ain't coming back for a very long time. The way the game is called now, the way it's officiated, it's going to be a small guys league, a positionless league, and we've seen them go away from the big dominating center. Now this guy is a stretch five. He can shoot the three. He's got great footwork, supposedly. I mean, I don't watch Serbian basketball on a regular basis or like ever. But, no, I don't see the league moving in that direction. That's why I was sort of confused, flummoxed by this whole thing. But that's why I just don't think in the long term that they're going to move forward with three bigs. This is not the NBA of 1986. In the new age, it's all about guys who can cover multiple positions and guys who can stretch the floor. And, yeah, this guy can do some of that. But, yeah, I don't see them moving forward with 3 6'11" guys.
So Bob Kravitz with us. I was talking to him on Friday about the rumors we heard as the Pacers had interest in moving up to number 4. He did not say who they might have had targeted at number 4. He just basically went on and saying what New Orleans ultimately wanted was the equivalent of what they wanted back in February to make a deal, I think, for Holiday, and they wanted Miles, and the Pacers were unwilling to pull the trigger. Do you happen to know who they might have targeted at number 4 if they indeed did want to move up as reported?
Atlanta picked DeAndre, right? No, who am I getting that wrong? Who was
the 4th pick was DeAndre Hunter of Virginia, and I think that was Atlanta's pick. Where did he end up? Did he go to Hunter go to L.A.? I think he ended up going to the Lakers. Did he? He's in Atlanta. No, yeah, DeAndre Hunter is in Atlanta. Yes, Atlanta. Sorry, yeah.
Great. I don't know who they were targeted. That's certainly not something they would have said, but I would think a Hunter, somebody who went in that area. But, I would not have moved Miles Turner and Aaron Holiday for the number 4 pick. I just think it was a 3. Look, there's going to be good players all throughout the draft, but by and large, if you're looking for game changers, franchise-altering players, I think there were the top 3, and then it's everybody else. So I would not have gone overboard trying to get that number 4 pick. So I think they were smart to stand pat there.
All right, Bob, and you know this as well as I do, trying to ask questions of free agency this time of year for anybody executive-wise in the NBA is difficult because they can't speak to it. I mean, you couldn't talk about T.J. Warren, and it's all really silly. So I'm kind of left in asking these non-specific, indirect questions, and I went a path in that fashion of trying to ask him about why he would want to consider a Ricky Rubio. Now, I didn't name it by name, but what occurred to me was in his answer that there's a plan that they want to take in the backcourt, free agency-wise, with Bojan, and then there's one without Bojan. And the one with Bojan seems to be Ricky Rubio.
Yeah, I mean, look, if they can surround him with 4 really elite shooters, and Bojan being back would give them that 6th elite shooter, then I guess Rubio makes sense. I mean, we know the 31%, or he's a lousy shooter. I don't know what the number is off the top of my head. But he's a lousy shooter. He always has been. But he's a good defensive player and a terrific passer and, floor general or whatever you want to call him. He doesn't excite me a lot. You got to talk me into Ricky Rubio, to be perfectly honest. Now, if he's a bridge to Aaron Holiday and you get him on a short-term contract, I guess you can make that argument. But that's when I need to be talked into a little bit. I'm just looking at a list of the free agents, and the question is, do you pay a lot of money for, say, a restricted free agent like D'Angelo Russell and use all your money there, or do you go out and get a couple of guys, a Rudy Gay, a Terrence Ross, people like that? I'd rather see them go after the big fish, even if it's just one player, and that Victor's going to come back. I think what they're not telling you, but I think it's obvious, is that next year is kind of a bridge year. They know that Victor's not coming back for quite some time. And even when he does come back, Lord knows what it's going to look like and how he's going to play. So I think they're going to use next. Be good again. They always want to make the playoffs, but I think next year is going to be a bit of a struggle. And I think they're looking more in terms of the long term, essentially.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of folks around here are going to really dig on the whole bridge year thing. I mean, not at all. Not at all.
Look, with Victor hurt, not coming back till December or January or maybe even a little bit later, we just don't know. How good are they really going to be? Now, if you lose Bojan, they may not even be a playoff team. So, they're going to make every effort to get Bojan back here. I hope that they do because I think he's a terrific player. But it's going to cost, and we'll see what they're willing to do. We'll see ultimately what Bojan wants to do. All things being equal, he may want to go somewhere else, and that certainly he's free to do so.
So Bob Kravitz of The Athletic, he's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So what do you think they should do? I mean, what is the path in free agency that they should take? Or maybe even better ask, what do you think is the first move they make? Is that towards securing Bojan and bringing him back, or is that going after somebody else?
Well, I think you can walk and chew gum at the same time, and I think you have to as team president and GM and everybody else on his staff. I think your first priority has got to be to bring Bojan back, because so much of whatever else you do is going to be predicated on what Bogdanovich is in the Pacers next season. I like the Jay Warren trade that isn't a trade yet. This is a guy who averaged 18 and shot about 40-something% from three and can play the 3 or the 4. So he gives them a nice bit of insurance should Bojan not come back, and certainly they're not going to – it doesn't sound like they're going to bring back Thad Young. So I think that was a fine move to get an 18-point-per-game starter for nothing more than cash.
I'd agree. All right, any free agents? Float your boat out there, restricted or unrestricted? You think that they may – and they're going to swing – at least that's what they say. They're going to swing at everybody. Just not everybody's going to have the interest that they have in them. Where do you think they go first, at least?
If you're asking me, which apparently you are, I really like D'Angelo Russell. I realize he's not a great shooter yet. Whether he ever will be is another question. But, this is a guy who averaged 20 points and 7 assists last year for, a pretty good New Jersey, pretty good Brooklyn team. So that's, I'd love to see them go out and get a stud. Obviously Kemba Walker would be the perfect guy, but I don't think that he's coming here. He's going to have a lot of suitors, and he's expressed a desire to stay in Charlotte. But, if you can't hit a home run, then you try to hit a double. And you look at the Terrence Rosses and guys like that.
What do you think a bridge year, as you just described it maybe being this year, how is that going to treat Nate with everybody around here?
Well, Nate's got a couple years. I think he's got, 2 years left of his deal. I think, didn't he? I believe he re-upped for 3 years last year. So, Kevin understands what he's giving Nate, and if they can't really make hay in free agency, I think Kevin understands that Nate is going to be a little bit hamstrung. I think Nate knows that he needs to be patient with this group. I mean, think about it. They had seven guys on the team at the end of the season who are now free agents. So this is going to be almost a completely rebuilt team. We don't know who their point guard is going to be. We don't know yet who their small forward is going to be. We don't know who their power forward is going to be. But we know this: they got plenty of centers.
And you, like everybody else, I didn't mind Goga at 18. I didn't. And I kind of get it, too. We go through phases, Bob, right? In basketball, in the NBA, we've gone through the youth phase, and, you're afraid not to draft somebody. And we always love when the NFL talks up the draft board told us to do this, and we listen to the draft board. I kind of understood it. 19-year-old big guy, played well wherever in the Euro League. I understand that part of it, and then maybe if Sabonis ends up being some sort of trade situation, you get a little leverage there. It kind of all made sense to me. It did.
Well, yeah, it makes sense if you're looking toward not next year, but the year after that. And that's why I say I think it was a move made for down the road, because I honestly believe that, look, Miles, they've got Miles tied up into a very reasonable contract. The bonus is going to be on the doorstep of a big payday. And I tend to think that they're going to use the bonus as a trading chip down the road at the trading deadline. I think they're going to be sellers, and, they can start to fill some holes. So it makes sense from that standpoint. But, the thing when you're writing a column is you're taking a snapshot and you're trying to, what are my initial thoughts on this? My initial thoughts, same as just about everybody in town. What the hell do they need another center for? But I do think long term it could be very beneficial to them if they do in fact move Domantas Sabonis.
I know hindsight's 20/20. Have you looked back and thought, well, with the type of season and certainly that 4-game sweep in the postseason, should they have been selling these 1-year contract guys to try to find something else as opposed to riding this thing until it was over?
There was no market. There was no market. Why would anybody go after trade for a Darren Collison or a Thad Young or or a Bojan when they know they're going to become free agents? I can say with a certain amount of certainty that the market was really weak for those guys, and you lose them for nothing. But I don't know how much you would have gotten back, quite frankly. Around the trade deadline, I talked to some people and was told, it'd be a great idea to deal some of those guys and get something in return before they hit free agency, but there wasn't much out there, believe me.
Yeah, and I know you've heard that angle a couple of different times, and I think we're pretty unfair at times to go back and look at it. And I was all in. I didn't mind the path in which they took, but there are many that kind of go back and look at that and think that maybe there were some missed opportunities there.
I don't think so. I really don't for the reasons I said. I just and the thing, too, is you bring some guys back. Now they're under contract. Now they impact your cap. I think they just wanted to, start out with a clean slate. If they lose some of those guys, they lose some of those guys. Look, I love Thad Young. He's one of my favorite guys, one of my favorite players on that team. But they need more scoring from that position. If he comes back, great. But, good God, they've got enough bigs now. I don't know how many more they can fit in there. But, I think Collison had a nice 2-year run here. He did what he was supposed to do. But, I just don't know how far you can ultimately go with Darren Collison. I think he's a starting point guard for a good team. So, no, I think they handled it the way they needed to handle it.
Hey, you're going to eat these words one of these days when Miles and Domas playing the 4 and 5 as starters remakes the NBA and the path in which some of these teams want to take. So be prepared.
I will happily do so.
Be prepared.
NBA, I don't see how the spacing is going to work. I think Nate McMillan's got a hell of a challenge on his hands trying to figure out how he's going to move Domas to the 4, how he's going to find minutes for all 3 of these guys. It's going to be really, really challenging.
All right, final thing with Bob Kravitz at The Athletic. We'll have to note this. I mean, they're going to have to get some rotational minutes out of guys that we haven't seen with the capability and confidence to do that yet. What's your expectation for Aaron Holiday, TJ Leaf, and maybe to a smaller extent here, Edmund Sumner?
I think Edmund Sumner's got a chance to be a rotation player. The little bit we've seen, it's been pretty good. TJ Leaf, I just think the jury is still out. But he came here after his sophomore year, I believe. Freshman or sophomore year at UCLA. And it takes guys time. I mean, we've seen it with Oladipo. We've seen it with a lot of players. If he's not a serious rotation guy by the 3rd year, then he's a bust. He just isn't good enough to get significant minutes for anybody. And so Sumner, Leaf, and Holiday. I think they're grooming him to be the starter, sooner rather than later. I think he's got a chance to be a really nice player. He's electric, he's physical. He can do a lot of things on the floor. He's fast. They want to play with pace, they say, even though they drafted another center. So I think Holiday is the keeper of the group, and I think over time he's going to be the point guard this franchise has just not had for many, many years.
I'm telling you, Goga's going to turn into an itch. He's going to turn into a Jokic or a Nurkic. Be ready.
Nurkic, huh? That's not something you need an antibiotic for.
He's going to turn into an itch. That's what you're looking for is an itch right here. So, listen, I got a lot of confidence. The dude's 19, man. He is 19 years old.
I think he's going to be a good player. Like at the Athletic, I know our Sam, I don't even know how you pronounce his last name, Vicini. He had him, I think, as the 8th player, in the lottery. Most people thought he would go, higher than 12. And to get him at 18, it's a great value pick. I have no doubt that he can play. It's just a matter of fit. And I don't know how he's going to fit in the short term. Now, long term, if he becomes the kind of player that they think he can become, and they can move Sabonis for some really good assets, for some guys who fill some holes, then yeah, I think it makes perfect sense.
I would rather think that they're changing the entire dynamic of the NBA as we know it right now.
He's going to change the NBA, huh?
Wow. I will say this. I am curious to see, and maybe I won't be after like the first week or two, but I'm curious to see Miles and Domas playing together for a real extended time. I am kind of curious to see how it looks, and if it doesn't, it probably won't. But I am curious.
I'm curious and mildly fearful. I just, the little bit we've seen them together, I don't know what all the analytics say. I guess I should probably know these things, but just, eye test, which is a tired old trope, but, the eye test suggests to me they don't really fit together. But we'll see, if they make a true commitment from day one to play those guys together, maybe it can work.
Bob Kravitz, you'll find him at The Athletic with his latest stuff regarding the Pacers and more. People can get your stuff by doing what?
Go on to theathletic.com website and sign up. And if you want to reach out to me, I'll find out our latest and greatest discount subscription and send it along.
My brother, good to talk with you. We'll do it again soon.
See you, bud.
Bob Kravitz of The Athletic.